This is Darren, and I'm joined today by Kyla. We're both at GitLab. And a few weeks ago, we were in San Francisco together at an event, and we realized that both of us live in pretty small towns. We don't live in big urban centers, but we work at a cool place that's in the tech field that I think if it were co-located would probably have to be centered in a large city. And we both just kind of rallied around the gratitude factor of not having to live in a major urban center. We said, we should have a chat on that and upload it to our Unfiltered channel on what it means to us to be able to live and work where we're most fulfilled, and how we hope to see that proliferate, and how we see GitLab fitting into all of that. So first of all, Kyla, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. So it's going to be fun to talk about remote work, talk about our backgrounds, where we come from, and how remote work specifically affects our lives, and how it's really been such a benefit and a great attribute to have.
For sure. And you've actually been at GitLab longer than I have. So I guess I'll start with, where are you at now? Where's home for you? And what has it been like kind of being in a small town as the company has scaled, and we've picked up people now across 60 countries, which is pretty wild.
Sure, that's a great question. So I started at GitLab over 3 years ago, and my background is I came from a small town in North Dakota that only has 1,200 people living in it. So growing up, I had 33 kids in my class, and the same people who I graduated high school with, I went to the first grade with. So I come from a very small background, and after graduating high school, I went and lived in Fargo, North Dakota, and I went to university there, and I've stayed in North Dakota ever since. So that's my background in very, very small town USA. I think it's been transformational coming to GitLab and being exposed to the diversity that we have. We have, employees in 60 different countries right now. And I think just working alongside them has really transformed my perspective on life, and also, the growth that I've had in my career.
I love that. I live in North Carolina, coastal North Carolina, small town. I think the last census said 300 people or so here.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I'm just so grateful to kind of get the best of both worlds, where I'm able to work in an awesome professional setting that one would assume would have to be rooted in a large urban center, but I get to live in small town America, and it's near my family. So I'm about 45 minutes drive from my family as well as my wife's family. We have a huge community around us. We just adopted a newborn last year, and having that village and that tribe nearby has been completely transformational. If you have to take on the opportunity of parenting alone, it's a very different vibe than if you are able to stay near family. So that's been huge for us. And it's one of those things that I wake up every day appreciative of GitLab's all remote culture, such that I'm able to stay near the people that mean the most to me without guilt or fear or anything like that comes along with it. And I think it's big. And I think there are some people that work here that love living in major urban centers, but I think there's some interesting nuance to all remote, where we try to put opportunity in places that would typically be underserved. Mm-hmm. And I feel like here, particular where I'm at, there's an impact on the economy locally. So if I had to move to San Francisco or Singapore or London to work in this job, the economic tax base of where I'm at degrades a little bit further and a little bit further. But think about if we can help reverse that, where more and more people are able to go back to their roots or live in a place that fulfills them. It might not be an urban center. A couple of things can happen. One, the tax base and the microeconomy of these small towns rise up, so they're able to have more services, better infrastructure, and actually support themselves better, like become thriving small towns instead of seeing them degrade. The other thing is, people that are born and raised in these urban centers where that is home are largely being priced out of their own home by people coming in only to work there. So if people can leave those urban centers and go back to a place that is more fulfilling for them, it actually opens more space up for people that are from there, that want that to be home, that is their community. So I think it kind of goes both ways. And I guess I'll ask you, why North Dakota? Why do you stay there? I mean, obviously for me, it's all about family, and I love being here. I love being near the ocean. I love that there's no traffic except maybe a tractor or two. But what does that mean to you? Why small town America for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Very similar to your response. I have a 4.5-year-old son, and so family uh, coming first. And my husband's family lives here. My family lives here as well. So it's, uh, I think, rooted in our families that it's comfortable to be around them. It's something that we always want to continue to do, but we also love to travel. And so if we can stay here close to family and still be able to grow our careers and our families here, and also have the opportunity to leave and travel and go see other things, I think it's definitely the ideal balance that we want to remain in our families. And I think it's comfortable for us to be surrounded by them, and we're very supported by them. And I think it's just something that as we've grown up, we just never left. And I think you go back to, why didn't you leave, or why didn't you go and move to different cities across the US, or wherever you wanted to move to or explore to. And I think it just always comes back to wanting to stay around family, and really loving that aspect of your life a lot.
Yeah, that resonates a lot with me. My wife and I have actually together traveled to all 50 states. I think we're up to just over 50 countries now. So we also love to travel. We love to go, but there's no place like home. And I
Yeah.
think if family means a lot to you, one thing I've seen is that where family means a lot, or there's a certain place, a certain community that you're just deeply rooted in and you want to stay deeply rooted in, that becomes so valuable when you're considering where to work, in terms of, should I work for an all remote or remote first company, or should I relocate to go somewhere else? People tend to look at job offers. They look at things like salary, they look at things like benefits, job opportunities, so on and so forth. But what's interesting about GitLab is that there's also the location factor, where you can stay wherever you want to stay, or move. Like, you could work in a new place every month or every 3 months or every year, however
Right.
you want to do it. That, if that resonates with you, if that provides value to you, it's like a place like GitLab, it's going to treat you well. And I think
Mhm.
what I've seen in interacting with people here is, there's a lot of gratitude that goes around when people wake up every day and they're like, man, this is kind of amazing that I get to
Yeah.
be where I want to be. I also have been personally impacted by the diversity that I've seen. When you have people spread out across the United States and then beyond, over 60 countries now, you're able to see them live their cultural norms and their cultural
Yeah.
celebrations, things that aren't normal for around me, but it's totally normal for them. That, it's just amazing to get that perspective and that reminder that the world is much bigger than wherever you're currently at. And I
Yeah.
think it's really enabled by all remote. I don't know if you have any cool anecdotes for that, but just generally, that's been very impressive for me working here.
I think going back to, I grew up in a very small town where uh, in that town specifically, we only had, 2 or 3 families of different ethnic backgrounds other than white Caucasian. And so perspectives, just your mind didn't naturally go there, like branching out your perspectives in any kind of subject or topic, I think was very closed minded. And I think that that's something that I grew more and more as I went to university, as I, grew into living in a different town and living in a different city. And where I'm going with that is bringing myself to GitLab, working with employees over 60 different countries, even talking about holidays. We don't all celebrate the same holidays. We don't all celebrate um, you know even the same I guess you could say backgrounds in terms of politics, or even, not that we talk about politics in the workplace, but even backgrounds of religion and faith and things like that. And I think it's just to see the diversity in GitLab itself. There's so much, and there's so much to learn from that I think really has opened my perspective to gratitude and respect for those cultures, and a better understanding and depth of being very mindful and aware. That has really been healthy and, life-changing for me, just to be able to interact there. And so when you live in North Dakota, I just got done talking about traveling a lot, and I think it opens up the opportunity to travel to different places you might not actually find yourself. Where going to Australia and visiting one of my coworkers, or going to Europe, and um, GitLab offers a travel stipend to go and visit different places. And so it kind of, you know, offers the opportunity to branch out in areas that you may not have originally found yourself if you would have, worked locally in a small town of 1,200 or even 100,000 people. So
It's so true. It's cool to be rooted in a small town, low cost of living, local community, a lot less stress, less frenetic pace. But having a visiting grant which encourages you to go travel the world and meet coworkers all over the world is a spectacular arrangement. It's very cool.
yeah,
We were talking earlier about you've been in GitLab a bit longer and have seen it scale massively. And so part of this, we've been talking about how it impacts us, but from the management and business ownership standpoint, I'm thinking about, you said earlier, people thought at 60 or 100, this could work. Like you could have people scattered here, there, and everywhere, a few small towns, whatever. But at scale, how's it going to work? Like the cuteness is going to wear off.
yeah.
And we're at over 1,000 people now, and we're working hard to continue scaling that culture. And we see the more people that join from around the world, the tighter the micro communities get. It actually reinforces it versus tears it down. So far that I've seen.
Yeah.
Do you see going forward, if other companies embrace this, and even GitLab, do you see people that maybe came to GitLab in a large urban center because that's where their last job was? Do they take the opportunity to move somewhere else, to move back home, to try a new place, or are they going to stay rooted? I think about this all the time. Like, are we going to encourage more people to move to lower cost of living places or more rural places, or are they just going to stay where they're at?
Yeah. I think as you grow, your circumstances might change. So you might have a different frame of mind, maybe when you're in your early 20s than maybe you do in 30s or 40s, in terms of wanting to grow a family or just wanting different experiences in life. And I think that living in a lower cost city gives you more opportunities to experience more, not just rooted in your specific city. So more money to travel and more money to put towards, maybe building a house or buying a house, or, growing a family, things like that. I think it just depends on your circumstances, but I think that it encourages that, right? It encourages you to look from a different perspective how your life could change, and you could meet different goals that you had for yourself, just living in a lower cost of living space, and being able to have different opportunities like that.
I think remote has the opportunity to reverse the trends of rural depopulation that we've seen. So there are quite a few studies around the globe, really, that how small towns have been eroded to some degree because largely people feel like they have no choice but to move to a big urban center for employment. So what happens there is, like, that's how ghost towns happen, and you
For
lose the
sure.
fabric of that community, and then it actually puts an extreme burden on the infrastructure of the larger metropolitan areas. So then they become less livable for the people that is their home.
Yeah.
I feel like remote has the chance to shift that up and kind of change the mentality on, instead of there being a stigma on, well, why did you stay in the small town that you were at instead of go to the big city?
Yeah.
That's all rooted in, go to the big city means get a certain type of job. So I feel like
Exactly.
remote has the opportunity to remove that stigma. And it's like, man, you were able to stay rooted in that community, build lifelong friends, have an impact, and give back at a place that gave so much to you. I think that, I hope that's a part of GitLab's legacy. I know Sid has said that currently we have a massive competitive advantage because we're able to hire remotely across
Yeah.
so much of the globe.
It's
But
true.
part of our legacy will be how fast we can influence the degradation of that competitive advantage. So
Yep.
ideally, there would be so many remote first and all remote companies out there that people would have a huge amount of options in where to apply to. Because the net benefit to society, if remote goes that global, is it's kind of like the rising tide lifts all boats. we feel
Yep.
like we would reap some economic and other kind of societal benefits from having that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that you're totally spot on. I think that we've definitely set the bar to be an example of how this can be successful, not just for one business, but for many other technology companies and throughout different industries and functions to make this successful if you know choose to structure it correctly. And I think that we've set some really great examples, especially as a mom. I think that you always want that work-life balance, and you're trying to figure out, should I take a couple, many people are in this predicament where, should I take a couple of years off and I take care of my kids, but then when I come back, then I have that gap in my resume. Does that disqualify me? And I think a lot of things become complicated when you're raising a family, and to take that variable out and say you don't have to choose, you can have that work-life balance. And we can start by setting an example and setting the bar high of really giving you time back to have that work-life balance, to be a parent, to be supportive for your family, and yet also have time to give to your career and let yourself grow in that area as well. I think is very fulfilling. I think it's something that is not a norm today that you see, both for moms and for dads. um, or in your situation, you adopted and you wanted to take some time off to support your family in that regard. And I think it's just humanizing it. I think just making it something that's very typical and well respected, I think is something GitLab is definitely a lead component in, and someone that, a definite company in the market that is setting itself apart, where it said, oh, we'll never be successful doing this. We're 1,000-person company, and every single person takes responsibility for our values, which is why we've been so successful there.
That's so powerful. It's so true. Humanizing a business and treating people like humans, it's actually good for business. I actually don't know why this is so difficult to understand, but you're right. By letting people work from anywhere, small town, big town, wherever you want to work, it definitely enables you to be a working parent more easily if that's what you want. When you get rid of the commute, you just have more time to be there for your family. And when you have more time to be there for your family, you're going to pour more of your best effort into your work, because
Yeah.
that work is enabling you to have more time with your family. It's this positive, virtuous cycle. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see how it works,
Yeah.
but it has been incredible to see so many people that appreciate their careers, but recognize that family is first and that life is more important than work when push comes to shove. Those people are drawn to a place like GitLab. And so we're able to work with a lot of people that are very like-minded, that embrace those values and embrace that culture. And it's kind of when you set the bar of this is what we offer, this is who we are,
Yeah.
there's a self-selection type of process to opt in. Like, I don't think anybody ends up at GitLab by accident. They came here because they hear stories like this and they say, yeah, that fits my life. And I want to work with people that get it, that understand life is about more than work, and it's about trying to beautifully integrate them as best we can. And I think remote contributes to that in a big way.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Awesome. This has been great. Any other last thoughts before we hang up? Hang up as if we have a physical phone.
I know it's something that we just asynchronously
Yeah,
think of. It's like, I'm gonna log off, so I'll see you later. So
very
just hang
true.
up. But, yeah, last thoughts. I think it's just that I'm so grateful for this opportunity, and I'm so grateful to be a part of the mission to continue to grow this organization, and to be an example of the opportunity being so successful for me, and what it's given back. But just wanting to continue to grow in the right direction. And I know by having someone, the head of remote, and actually having a specific person who's geared to just push this mission even further and help guide us in the right direction, I think is wonderful. So just thank you for the opportunity to be part of this call today.